Geno, thank you for joining the conversation. Your thoughts on the immediate, the Pod Save America guys, same thing. Like, we're not going to do anything about the guns, and therefore, they're feeling the frustration that I think we're feeling, but their entire game is to blame the gun.
Yeah, well, thank you, Megyn, for having me. And this is obviously another horrible tragedy that's taken place, and I absolutely agree. And by another coward who shouldn't be anywhere near these types of weapons. But you're not going to be able to stop people from buying weapons or getting weapons. So you really have to focus on the threat, right? Stopping these threats. And that's really why we developed SaferWatch. We started the company after the Pulse nightclub shooting and really started focusing on schools after the Parkland shooting. And to date, we've helped to stop and prevent 13 planned school shootings. And that's all about proactive reporting that Chad mentioned, other people who mentioned, where those tips come into our platform. We are connected with hundreds of law enforcement agencies across the country, where those tips, it's not just telling a teacher or telling a friend or telling someone. These come into our platform, they're documented, they're recorded. Law enforcement's able to analyze and take action on these, and it holds people accountable. And that's really what we're focused on, is preventing these incidents from happening.
In the first place, I want to show you something, Chad, that we just found on his YouTube feed. First of all, there's a picture he drew of the church. Well, what looks like a church, I should say. I don't know that it's the church, but it certainly looks like one. And it's chilling to see this. He's pointing, for the listening audience, you see at the top of the page, this is all hand-drawn, what looks like an altar with a cross on top of it, and then like a line depicting that it would be the altar's edge. Then you see sort of the edge of it, and you see 4 long rows of pews. He's pointing to something. Forgive me, it's too far away for me to see what exactly he's written above where he's pointing. But this looks very much like a church, Chad, and he appears to have had his plan really clear between that and the "where is your God" and the target practice with Jesus's picture in the middle.
Yeah, so obviously, Megyn, the people that commit these attacks, there's this idea that it's just some person that wakes up this morning, pours a cup of coffee and says, I'm going to go shoot it up. No, they plan. They want to outdo the previous shooter. And so they're going to do their research. We have seen how, these manifestos are written and they study. Look, there was a girl that was arrested last year that was planning an attack on her school on the 25th anniversary of Columbine. All right, She wasn't even alive in 1996, or I think it was 96 when Columbine happened. She wasn't even alive, but her grandmother discovered these writings in her journal, and she stopped it before it even happened. So yes, they do their research. People who commit these attacks, it's going to be interesting throughout this investigation in the coming couple hours. Was there an association? Did he grow up going to this church? Did he go to school there growing up? Mm-hmm. A lot of times there is some type of association. But having systems in place like Geno, was talking about, having layers of protection are great. Key card access, reporting systems, panic bars, security guards, having layers of protection is great. But we still have to be trained and we still have to have a plan. The most secured home in America, someone still tries to jump the fence once a week. It doesn't end up well for them, but having layers of protection is great. But we also need to make sure we are being situationally aware, staying off of our cell phones, being aware of our surroundings. And it's almost like like we said earlier, if you see something, say something. But to go back earlier, Megyn, what you said about the whole banning guns, here's the thing, guys. Still, handguns are still the number one gun used in active shooter events. And guess what? You can ban all the guns. If someone wants to commit a mass act of violence, they're going to do it. We saw it in New Orleans. We'll use a vehicle and run over a bunch of people. We'll use knives. But, people talk about, we don't have these events in Europe. Yeah, I get it. No shit. That's because you don't have guns over there, but you have an increase of knife attacks over there. So if someone wants to commit violence,
look what the Boston Marathon bombers did with the homemade bombs.
Exactly. They're going to do it.
The other drawing that we have just pulled from his YouTube feed, he appears to have used some sort of it looks like some sort of a code language, because the letters are recognizable, but they make no sense when strung together. I don't understand. For example, there's, and actually some of the letters look foreign to me, like it's not a real letter, like it's more of a symbol. For example, there's something that reads KORA3, then a backward 3, then T0, then 33KOH for backward N. I'm just pointing out to you, it's gibberish to the rest of us. I don't know what this person's code was. But underneath these writings is a hand-drawn picture of what appears to be him. It's got the long hair, and he had long hair. And he's got he's got a rifle, like an AR-15 looking gun on his back, slung across his back, and he's looking at himself in the mirror. And the reflection is a devil. The reflection is a demon with multiple horns coming out of his head, 4 horns, 2 on each side, and he looks evil. He looks truly demonic. It's a self-portrait, obviously, and it's not a huge shock, Geno. I mean, that's how he saw himself. And the celebration of killing kids, you know, he was excited to write down how he was going to get these kids, looking forward to targeting them for the win. That's one of the marks on his ammo, FTW. We showed the ammo where he was specifically saying for the kids. Humanity's overrated. This all could have been written by, we don't say the names of the shooters on the show, but it could have been written by the Sandy Hook shooter in particular, who is completely depressed, saw himself as a demon. And I mean, to way oversimplify it, is they are in the throes of a deep depression and madness, and they want others to hurt as well. They want others, other lives are absolutely meaningless to them. So they can't be persuaded. They can't actually be therapized. They need to be locked up.
Yeah, and Megyn, about 90% of these cases, there are known warning signs that do exist. And it really comes down to what was reported, who was reported to, what actions were taken, right? Because these tragedies, they can be prevented. And if you go back all the way back to the Pulse nightclub shooting, the coworker who worked with that individual knew that he was buying ammunition, knew that he was buying weapons, knew that he had a plan for something, and never reported it to anyone. And again, that's why these systems are in place, to be able to easily report something, right? You know, if you hear kind of after these tragedies, you're going to hear chiefs of police or sheriffs go on television and say, it's so important, if you hear something, say something. Report suspicious activity, call 911. No one's going to call 911 about a potential concern that they have about someone. So the more tools that we have available for people to easily share and report information, the better. And the more likely we are to actually get ahead of this and prevent and stop these cowards and these mentally ill individuals from committing these acts of mass violence.
You know, can we spend a minute on the trans thing, Chad? Because, you know, I don't mean to, not all people who have gender dysphoria are violent or are going to commit violence, but now we've seen it in a couple of cases. You know, we saw it in Nashville, Tennessee, where it was a young girl who identified as male. And now we see it here with this biological man who we are told now, there's more reporting coming in, that he identified as a woman. Some reporting out there that he began identifying as trans as a minor. And the name was changed. Again, we don't do names here, but from a male-sounding name to a female-sounding name. The hair is very long and feminine-looking. I'm sorry, but this is going to happen more and more. There's a medical cocktail that these people get. There's a system that affirms a delusional set of beliefs. And there's an unwillingness within the mental health community to look at underlying mental health issues for these kids who are suffering. I'm not calling this guy a kid, but I'm speaking generally now. They just want to say affirm, affirm, affirm without addressing possible mental illness.
And here's the thing, Megyn, there's no doubt everyone that commits one of these attacks is in some type of mental crisis. Everyone. And so what you just said, the word I love, why are we coddling these people? Why are we saying, affirming them? At the end of the day, you're born male or you were born female, and that's what you're going to be the rest of your life. So why is it? I don't know where those balloons came from. But
it's our beautiful computers.
Yeah. Sorry, I got thrown off. But again, it's time that we stop coddling this and affirming and, oh, no, we can't talk to them about their mental health because this is just who they are. No, that's not true. They need help. We need to get the help immediately. And honestly, the education system is backing these people. They're throwing it down our kids' throat. and affirming. You can be in elementary school now and you walk in, you're not seeing the American flag and saying your prayer or having your moment of silence. You're walking into classrooms that have pride flags and everything else in there. Again, identify with whatever you want. Don't start throwing it down my kid's face, and don't start saying it's okay, this is normal, because it's not.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, it's like that'll be the last thing the left will willingly take on about this case. Like I said, Joe Biden's FBI kept it secret in the case of the Nashville shooter for a year. I mean, we were among the first to reveal large portions of what the FBI found. We got that exclusively and brought it to the audience. Stephen Crowder did great reporting on it. He had some exclusives early on. But there have been multiple cases now. Here, my team is just sending me a couple here. All right, Colorado Springs shooter was non-binary in November 2022. It was a gay nightclub. 5 people were killed. The Nashville school shooter, I mentioned, a so-called declared trans person, where they shot multiple individuals, multiple children. Aberdeen, there was a shooter who was trans. 2018, went into Rite Aid and shot 6 coworkers. There are more. Denver school shooter was trans. 2019, they killed at least one person in 2019 in the school, in the Denver area charter school. There was one in Iowa where we believe it was the case. Trans or gender fluid shooter went in and shot a 6th grader and a principal who were killed. Like, I could keep going. And I will tell you, the left and their entire capture of the medical system does not allow any inquiry into the mental illness that these people are suffering. You're considered a bigot if you say it's mental illness, Joe.
Yeah, you need to really call it what it is. It is a mental illness. The easiest way that is being preached to us from our governments is if you see something, say something, like Chad said. If we don't know as law enforcement, we can't look at it. There are telltale signs when we go through these investigations that there were hints and dossiers and writings and pictures and all of these things. But what's important is, how did they get the gun? When we start looking at all of that stuff, there are checks and balances in place that we already have. We don't need to be focused on that. We need to be focused on the people. What is going on? And you're right. I'm called a bigot if I tell you that you're mentally ill. I just need to say what needs to be said.
You couldn't even say that and keep your video up on YouTube up until recently. If you said a trans person has a mental illness, they would demonetize you and possibly strike the entire video. Up until only very recently, we're not allowed. We haven't been allowed to have that conversation.
And that's given them power to do what they want to do. They want to hurt us. And this is how they do it. They have a mental illness, and no pill is going to fix that. And when they just start shoving pills and they compound on each other, this is what happens. So we need to look at what the underlying cause is, like Chad said. This is an illness. This is an epidemic, and it's not about the gun. It's about the illness and somebody wanting to kill our most precious resource, which is our children. Because you notice they didn't walk into a police station and do that. I've never heard of that.
Right.
They don't walk onto a military base, generally speaking, to do that, because there are people there that can defend themselves. So what do? If I want to make a name for myself and be remembered, like Butler, Pennsylvania, I'm going to go and I'm going to cause like this thing, and then the media is going to report it and everybody will know my name. I commend you, Megyn, for not releasing the name, because that just gives the next one more power. They don't need to be remembered.
Who cares? Who cares what his name is? It's irrelevant. Who gives two damns?
I want to know the name of the children.
Yeah, exactly right. We don't care what this person's name is. We are not going to make this person famous or infamous at all. This is a motivation. We've seen Gavin DeBecker, his entire firm is devoted to trying to stop people from getting stalked and hurt. And they're very against news organizations naming these shooters. It doesn't take much not to do it. Really, you're not losing anything by not hearing it. I'm telling you what you need to know. It was a male name. Apparently, according to Nick Sorter, who tweeted out the paperwork on X, there's legal paperwork showing that he changed it from that male name to like a very similar sounding female name. And he's obviously suffering with this ideology like so many of these others were. I'm going to show you something else that we've pulled from the YouTube page. It does not show him, so I wouldn't be breaking my rule. But it does show this guy scrolling through his notebook, which we've been showing you pictures of. And for the listening audience, you are going to see these church pew images, and then he knifes the book. Watch.
It catches y'all up to anything else they read.
He's looking at the picture of himself as a demon.
Oh, you stupid ass bitch. You corny motherfucker. Haha, nice.
This is the church pews pointing. It's a knife. You can hear him saying, "Kill myself," which he also did. The fact that this guy was roaming around, Chad, among us, I don't know. You can't catch them all. It's a big country, but you and I both know there's going to be people who knew. What will the effect of the sparring between President Trump and the Federal Reserve be? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time, or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown? And what does this mean for your savings? Consider diversifying with gold through Birch Gold Group. For decades, gold has been viewed as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, and high inflation. And Birch Gold makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. If you have an IRA or an old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to keep in your safe. First, get educated. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. Just text MK to the number 989898. Again, text MK to 989898 and consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. So if the Fed cannot stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can stay ahead for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.